What is the meaning of being a VTuber? Though the general public sees VTubers as a kind of entertainment business, but to the VTubers themselves, it might be more than just merely a tool to gain money. Sometimes it can simply just be a hobby, or as a tool to actively promote your ideology. But if you did not start off your VTuber career or YouTube career in general with a lot of resources in hand, it would be very difficult for you. As I mentioned before, in such a saturated market, being a new VTuber can be very difficult to shine, especially when you are an individually operated VTuber. The lack of resources and popularity makes the road of being successful pretty much impossible. At the end of 2017, we saw a huge surge in VTubers, which also includes 2 of the 4 VTuber giants. Besides them and a lot of other company-operated VTubers, there was this one individual VTuber that grabs people's attention with his distinct content that really differs from ordinary VTuber content, even by today's standard. Nekomimi masters distinct view of life and the whole VTuber scene in general, made him one of, if not the most well-known VTubers at the time. The contrasting cuteness induced by his image-defying voice and thought routine makes him one of the most popular individual VTuber, even when compared to the whole scene. Let's discover what he did that granted him such popularity, how the current VTuber scene makes individual VTubers harder and harder to be successful, and his envision of the future of the VTuber scene. At the end of 2017, we saw a bloom of a lot of new corporate VTubers. Kaguya Luna, Mirai Akari, etc. all started their channels in the same time frame. However, at that time, VTubers were still seen as a form of entertainment that really squeezes your pocket dry to start with. With expensive technology such as 3D modeling, motion tracking, facial capture, etc., being a VTuber seems like a business that only corporations and rich people can afford to join. Nekomasu was a 3D modeling hobbyist at the time, and already did a few models of original characters before. Being a high school graduate, landing on a job that can satisfy his career interest is almost impossible, even though he had the skill. Being on the lower end of the society, he decided to seek other ways to populate his resume in order for him to actually get the dream job, which is Unity or 3D related jobs. He opened a YouTube channel in early 2015 and started uploading live 2D creations. It was until 2016 where he started to upload contents to the internet about Unity and 3D modeling related creations. Although filled with quality content, his channel did not see great success. However, things started to change in late 2017. He was obsessed with VTubers at the time. Seeing videos and videos of other VTubers' activities probably makes him wonder, why should VTubers be constrained to mostly corporations or rich individuals? With this and his original goal in mind, he uploaded a video titled "Old Man Decide to Become a Virtual YouTuber" with his original character Mikoko as his avatar. What he didn't think of was how this video would blow up and became one of his most viewed videos. In this 1-minute short video, it's basically like a vlog where he talks about how he is recording his video.
初めてですよ。このカメラに向かって自撮り風に語りかけるっていうのは、YouTuber ってこういろいろ言われがちですけど、こうなんか割と寂しい壁を乗り越えて配信してるんだなっていうのが今こう誰もいないカメラのオブジェクトに話しかけててひしひしと感じてます。
A pretty cold and desolated statement, I would say. Probably being in his 20s and only working at low-skilled jobs such as convenience cashiers made him pretty much lost almost all passion that a young adult should have. In his second video, he started with a sad reaction about his broken ears.
これ耳完全に骨折しとるじゃろ。
Further in the video, he expresses his pessimistic view on his current life.
はいどうもバーチャルなんとかのネコマスです。のじゃ世の中世知辛い本職がコンビニバイトなんですけど、VR も 3D もお金にならない。やってもあんま意味ない。そんなことよりもはるかにコンビニとかで掃除したり、レジ打ったり、ベテランのおばさんに挨拶無視されたりするのが人生において重要なことなのじゃ。ってこう泣き真似したいのにアニメーションも毛布も入れる余裕がない。世の中世知辛いのじゃ。
He then proceeds to roleplay as a convenience cashier. Life of this young man really sucks, doesn't it? The image-defying tone of his videos and his personality really makes him stand out from the rest of the pack. Him being a male individual VTuber in a predominantly female-occupied industry, and with a pessimistic personality that you can't see in almost every other VTubers, which is almost filled with passion and hyperactive energy, sparks compassion from the audience. Him being an adult that actually works hard, meaning relatability to the audience. After all, a lot of the customers in the VTuber markets are in fact working class adults. How Nekomasu experienced society as a working individual makes connections with them. They will see him as one of their kind, a topic that can relate. And as I mentioned in several of my previous videos, relatability means views. Although quite contrary to popular practice, I don't think Nekomasu did it for the views. Nonetheless, the contradicting image, personality, and the relatability that Nekomasu embodies made him one of, if not the most attractive VTuber in the scene at the time, and he swiftly passed 100,000 subs after roughly 2 months. Being in such a powerful position, normal people would think of ways to utilize this power in order to bring them more benefits, such as money. Although Nekomasu did think of profiting from his channel, instead, he did something that other people think of as an altruistic move, and had an impact in the scene that has a long-lasting effect. It might be one of the greatest things that come to the VTuber scene ever. The VTuber scene at the time can be regarded as rich man's playground, where being a VTuber was basically a cost-sunking business. 3D modeling, motion capture, etc. were pretty expensive to use, and live 2D were not very well known, and lots of the currently available face motion capture free software were not in the markets yet. Not to mention, a lot of the public did not really see VTuber as a business that normal people can do. Nekomasu certainly did see this issue, and being an actually successful individually operated VTuber that works at a company, he knows how the society works. He observed the VTuber industry at the time having a higher barrier that not a lot of individual VTubers are willing to join. Himself being a successful VTuber certainly did encourage some of the individual talents to try and give VTuber a go, but he knows this will not suffice. After all, the lack of resources and popularity makes the road of being successful pretty much impossible. What he wanted was an environment that both corporate and individual VTubers can easily access the world of virtual VTubers without the high barrier of resources and popularity. A place where everyone can easily be a VTuber if they want. Although at his position, he can promote anyone he wants and makes them a popular VTuber. Instead, he decided to give up his channel and turned it into a channel that features a lot of individual VTubers. Nekomimi did not really publicly announce his channel to be a full-fledged variety channel, but rather slowly introducing new members into the channel, and slowly faded himself away. At 13th of January 2018, he changed his channel's name from Nekomimi VR Channel to Nekomimi Ogoku Kokuie Hoso. After this change, he started to introduce different individual VTubers to host and create content for the channel. He did show up a few times here and there, and even did some collabs with other VTubers such as Shiro and Mirai Akari. It was then until 25th of July, he renamed the channel to
バーチャル番組連盟
and gave up all its appearance. The channel, although was still operated by different individual VTubers, was not the same without him. Some say him giving up his successful channel to a bunch of individual VTubers were a dumb decision. I certainly can't deny that there were better ways to achieve the same goal, but I don't think this is a bad move at all. The thing is, he knows what individual VTuber lacks, and what he did was trying to fill the gap between corporate VTubers and individual VTubers by using his power that he had at the time. This was his way to fight corporatism that plagues the VTuber scene of that moment. I don't hate him doing this. In fact, I quite like him. As one of the Japanese fans said, I like the lone man who stands up against corporations. His actions didn't meant to be standing up against corporations per se, but what he did was what a lot of small and individual talents never thought of achieving. His channel did serve as a guiding light to a lot of individual VTubers that originally thought VTubers were a distant dream that only corporations and rich people can achieve. His impact to the whole VTuber scene is immeasurable, as he sparked hundreds if not thousands of individual VTubers to join the scene, to show their talents and to shine on stage that is YouTube. That's why he was one of the 4 VTuber giants. He was the one who brought VTuber to the common people, like how Prometheus stole the fire and brought it to the humans. That being said, if you take a look at the current VTuber scene, you will notice only a few individually operated VTubers actually gain popularity for both the Japanese and non-Japanese speaking community. What had made being an individual VTuber difficult again? Well, why don't we discuss a bit? YouTube was a platform for individual content creators. However, over the course of the past few years, it had slowly changed the landscape to a more corporate style. After all, only big corporations can help YouTube pay the bills. Although the same can't be said for the VTuber scene, as it was still a rather new sub-industry of YouTube. However, similar trends can still be observed. Corporation starts off with a lot of resources, and gaining popularity is comparatively easier, especially after their starting phase of building reputation. I'm not saying corporations are strangling individual creators to death, since not every corporation has the ability to, and YouTube after all is a video sharing platform. Even individual creators can still have the chance to succeed. However, the main point is, corporate operated VTubers in general are higher quality than many other individual VTubers. Corporate VTubers are in general more consistent at their work, in both quality and quantity. Individual VTubers with both quality and quantity are very few and far between, and most of them either lose money or lose interest during the struggling times before they get famous. The second point is the abundance of individual VTubers. After Nekomimi gains popularity with his channel, a lot of individual talents have chased after the dreams of becoming VTubers, and you can probably guess it already. Now it's individual VTubers instead of corporate VTubers filling the market. In fact, a very large portion of the 8,000 VTubers are individually operated VTubers. Is this a bad thing? Kinda. It depends on your view on the current scene. If you are prioritizing diversity and ubiquity of VTubers, then this is a good trend. But if you are considering the practicality of being a VTuber, then competing with thousands of Vtubers seems improbable. You preferably will need to have a very good all-around skills to actually stand out. And you also need to commit fully on being a VTuber, even if that means sacrificing all your time or money. Then you can have a chance to compete on the grand stage of YouTube. That's the reality of the VTuber scene and the whole YouTube scene in general, where individual talents that put actual effort in were only being recognized really late in their career or never, while corporations with equally good quality videos can brute force it by either producing videos in quantities that individual VTubers can't achieve due to real-life constraints, or by simply buying ads. Does this mean Nekomasu's work were being invalidated in the modern VTuber scene? Obviously not. However, his actions did somewhat make the VTuber scene being harder and harder for new individuals to sign. But I think it's not him to blame, but rather it's the general shift of the landscape. Besides YouTube being less and less supportive towards individual creators, the shift towards a more general public of the VTuber scene is destined to happen, maybe a few months later, or by someone else if it was not done by him. Moreover, his work is a celebration of diversity in the VTuber scene, more than anything else. This is bound to happen, like many other YouTube sub-industries. There's not a whole lot we can do to stop this, unless the majority wants to, but I don't think it will happen anytime soon, or ever. The public just wants consistently good quality videos or streams delivered right into their mouth after a full day of agonizing work. Spending time discovering individual VTubers were just impossible. He later resumed uploading in his new channel. Rumors suggested that he was being rejected left to right from different corporations and only got accepted into a VR-focused company after all his hard work on YouTube. This also indirectly reflects how individual VTubers can struggle a lot more than corporate VTubers. There's just so much more things to worry about. Now it boils down to one question. Did his dream of bringing VTubers down to be accessible to all kinds of people really fulfilled? The short answer to this is yes, but not quite. He did spark interest for a lot of individual talents that wanted to start their VTuber career, but don't know where to start, and he successfully brought VTuber closer to the common people, such as us. However, what a lot of people don't understand is, to be a successful VTuber, you need to commit fully, like a job that you are interested in. A lot of individual VTubers did not understand this fully and stopped their career halfway through. This is kinda sad, but it also shows what being a VTuber actually needs, besides those fancy face capturing apps and an attractive character model. I don't think the VTuber scene can truly reach the state Nekomasu envisions, where everyone is equal, but we can hope. One day, the scene can be what YouTube once was, a celebration of creativity, talents, and diversity.